Good evening. Thank you. Good evening. We'll now call the June 18, 2024 meeting of the Ben Lapine School Board of Directors to order. I would like to introduce our participants this evening. My immediate left, Vice Chair Carrie McPherson Douglas, Director Amy Tatum, Director Keena Chadwick, and Director Cameron Fisher, and Director Sherry Olson. And to my immediate right, Superintendent Dr. Steve Cook and Board Clerk Janet Boyer-Janowski. And I am Marcus LeGrand, Chair of the Board. We also have Taylor, is it Worth? Thank you. From Ben Senior High School, joining us from the Student Voice Council. Okay. In order for us to ensure safety and ability to board to focus on the business, we ask that all attendants adhere to the board meeting attendee expectations. This includes being seating and holding any signs or anything at chin level. If you are not available with chairs, individuals may wait in the lobby till one is available. And thank you for doing that. It means a lot. And we'll now stand, please, remove your hats, and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will now move to agenda item number 3, review of the agenda. Dr. Cook, are any changes to the agenda?
Thank you, Chair LeGrand. I would like to request that item number 11, the superintendent's report, be moved to directly after public comment. And so it would become item number 7, if we could.
All right, thank you very much. I will definitely look at this. Fellow board members, are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, I move to remove the superintendent annual evaluation from the consent for action and to move the superintendent's report to agenda item 7 immediately following public comment.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Tatum, and thank you, Director McPherson Douglas has made the second on that motion. And at this time, I will call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I believe the ayes had it. Unanimous. Thank you, Janet. And now we'll turn it over to Dr. Cook for district recognitions.
Thank you, Chair LeGrand. I'm very excited to have 2 district recognitions today. We're going to start with our champion for students. And so if I could get Sarah Gerard to come up here. Let's give her a hand. I'm very honored to give this award to middle school counselor who goes the extra mile to support students and staff. We are so proud to name Pacific Crest Middle School counselor Sarah Gerard as our champion for students for the month of June. School counselors are essential to student health and success, and Sarah goes the extra mile to support not just the students in her care, but also the entire school community. Christina Edwards, a counselor at High Desert Middle School, nominated Sarah with these words. Sarah is a continual learner, and that attitude is infectious towards her students. She leads every conversation with compassion and passion. If there is a student whose needs are not being met, she will fight and fight and fight for them. If there is a staff member who needs a bit of extra help, she will fight and fight and fight for them. She is one of the greatest leaders I've gotten to work with. Every interaction I have with her, I walk away feeling seen, heard, and I feel more calm. She has a special power to meet you where you are at, help you, direct you where you want to go, without you even realizing it. I am a new school counselor, and I am constantly asking myself, what would Sarah do? How would Sarah approach this? I hope to be half the counselor that she is. Sarah goes above and beyond day in and day out. Pacific Crest Principal Sean Keating, who's sitting right here in the audience, shared this about Sarah. Sarah Gerard is more than just a counselor. She's a leader In addition to the support she provides students and parents in her counseling role, she leads our work with teachers to target extra treatments for students who need it. She has a deep knowledge of school-wide culture and what makes schools safe and healthy. Our admin team relies on her wise judgment for all different kinds of issues, including student safety plans, small group supports, and building the main schedule. She has such a wide understanding of school culture and student support that I asked her to be on our instructional coaching and curriculum leadership team and paid for her stipend out of our discretionary budget. She's a key player here, and our success as a school leans heavily on her daily efforts. So, Sarah, in recognition of your leadership and success in your role as school counselor at Pacific Crest Middle School, thanks to your ability to see the promise in every student and dedicating your days to lifting up students and staff around you, you pave the way for everyone's success and well-being. Your commitment to serving the Pacific Crest community makes a meaningful impact on those around you. Ben Lapine Schools is proud to count you among our champion for students. Let's give her a round of applause. All right, Sarah, what makes your job easy?
Easy. Oh, gosh. Well, I have a few words that, if you don't mind, they will explain what makes it easy, if that's okay. Perfect. Every student, every day. This phrase has been my North Star and has guided me for the past 21 years. I wish I could state that I created this mantra, but it came from a dear colleague of mine. I mention this as this work is not done in isolation, and any success or progress that we create for our students in school is done as a team, and I have numerous people to thank. First, I would like to thank Lisa Burke and Ryan Kelly for hiring me over a computer during COVID. I know why the district has taken you, and I wish I could have worked with you more to learn more from you both. At Pacific Crest, I cannot speak highly enough of our administration, Sean Keating, who's in the audience, shout out to Sean, Anne Marie Schmidt and Dan Curfew. We have challenging conversations, continue to strive for excellence, and laughter fills our meetings. I am truly lucky. To my Student Services Department, Tammy Nielsen, Shauna Junker, and of course, my counseling partner, Abigail Clark, you are all simply the best. To Jen Houth and Jess Calbreth, thank you for continuing to advocate for school counselors. Our work matters. We get to impact students' paths. That is powerful. To my husband, Brendan, you have seen the long hours, have cooked all the meals, which honestly benefits both of us. I'm a terrible cook. While I worked at night, cut weekends short, all to help me help my school and my students. Spouses of educators are the unsung heroes of education. I'm humbled and honored to be a school counselor. It is a gift to do this work and to be trusted to collaborate with students, staff, families, to create the heart of a healthy community. This service is not always easy, but is the most rewarding, and I cannot think of anything else I would rather do. I am proud to serve this community, every student, every day, with all of you.
Another round of applause. Hold on, Sarah, come on back. Sean, can you come up, Sean? Yeah, let's get a photo with you and Sean up here, okay? One more round of applause for Sarah. All right, our second award tonight is an award we call Above and Beyond the Call of Duty, ABCDE award. You like that, don't you? All right, Shannon Anderson, will you please come up? We have a lot of people I'm going to ask to come up here in just a second, but I want to read a little bit to you first. All right. It is my great honor to present the Above and Beyond the Call of Duty Award to Nurse Shannon Anderson at Bend High School. On Friday, May 17th, her heroic efforts quite literally saved the life of a fellow staff member. That following Monday, I received an email from Stephen Weatherald, Bend High's graduation coach and advisor to the Cross Cultural Club. The subject of the email was School Nurse Extraordinaire. Here's a piece of that email. I was feeling some end of the year graduation is almost here stress. By Friday, that feeling was still there, even though it was a pretty relaxing morning. I decided to go and see Shannon Anderson, our nurse. I have observed how good she is with the kids. Her kindness, compassion, and directness makes kids feel at ease and allows them to speak openly. Based on these observations, I entered her office knowing she would provide me the same level of care. She knew instantly I was not my normal chipper self. She began to question me. She took my blood pressure, and it was high. She took it again, and she was clearly concerned at the results. She gave me two choices: have her drive me to the ER, or have the paramedics come and give me an EKG. Of course, I was not excited to hear about either option and said there was no way I was going to be wheeled out of school on a gurney. I learned later that I had a 95% blockage in a significant artery that supplies blood to my heart. Yep, it was a heart attack. One cardio catheterization and one stent later, I am as good as new. The purpose of my story is to let you know what a remarkable nurse you have working for our kids and sometimes even our staff. Her expertise, bedside manner, ability to connect, and insistence are probably the only reason I am writing to you this evening. Without Nurse Shannon, I would likely have finished the school day and returned home to my Labrador, who is very cute, but not very useful during a medical emergency. Steve, can I get you to come up here now? Let's give Steve Weatherall applause. Steve wrote that email, and he signed it off. Nurse Shannon performs her job expertly and saved at least one life. I am forever grateful to Nurse Shannon. So, Shannon Anderson, in recognition of your quick actions, presence of mind, and service above self, your efforts went above and beyond, demonstrated tremendous skill, awareness, and kindness, and made all of us at Bend Lapine Schools proud. We proudly present to you the Above and Beyond the Call of Duty Award. Can I?
Oh my gosh.
You have to say something. No, you.
Okay, I didn't prepare any words, unlike my counterpart there, but I just want to say I'm so honored to be able to take care of the staff and students at Bend High and be part of their community. And just, again, it's so important to have nurses in school and make the connections that we do. I'm thankful for that. Thank you. But hey, wait.
Oh, I don't really want to say anything, but yeah, I think the nurses in school thing, that was kind of my whole point here, is we kind of think that they do vaccination record stuff and exclusion day, super fun for everybody. They hand out Band-Aids, they help with meds, 504 plans, but they do so much more. I think actually a few days before me, she was helping another student, and she was diagnosed with MS. And I don't know if that would have happened without you being available. So you do a lot. Thank you.
We do. Thanks.
Thank you all. One more round of applause. Well done. Thank you. And that's our recognitions for tonight.
I'm gonna go ahead and start, but Carrie just went to that. Okay. I will now turn it over to Taylor for our Student Voice Council report. It's all yours, Taylor.
Good evening. My name is Taylor, and I will be a senior at Bend High next school year. I am an active member of Design Justice and the founder of the Students Against Trafficking Club. I'm excited to join this council to help elevate student voices, improve our school environment, and address the needs and concerns of the student body across the district. Our new group is focused on defining our purpose and role to achieve effective communication between students and distinct changes, practices, and policies that affect our school experience. I look forward to learning and contributing throughout this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor. I mean, thank you very much. All right. Now, the board and the district leader value communication from the students, families, staff, and community members as it helps to guide the work of Ben Lapine Schools. Public comment is just one of those many avenues available to ensure that connection. Members of the public may always submit thoughts, questions, or concerns to the board via email or well as in writing. This said, I want to remind the public while this is a meeting of the board of directors that takes place in public, it's not a meeting with the public. It is a meeting of the board to conduct district business. As such, the board will not respond to public comments made during tonight's meetings. We will now open for public comment and hearing from stakeholders on topics in order they appear on the agenda. This is our policy. Our policy is to typically allow up to 2 minutes per speaker with a total of 10 minutes of comments per agendized or non-agendized items and as a whole. Just to remind everyone, tonight we have over 10 people speaking on the non-agendized items. That means only 5 of you are going to be able to speak, just to give you heads up based on the policy, all right? Because it's all in the same tenor of what we're going to be talking about. It's similar in scope. You still have the ability to send it to people within an email to me or to the superintendent or to, so we can get the information to the right appropriate person. Also, I want to remind you too, reason we moved the superintendent's report to after public comment is to allow the superintendent to answer the things that you were going to talk about because he was going to talk about it later in the meeting. So it gives you an opportunity to hear what actually is going to be going on behind the scenes, but what you guys are going to be talking about. That's understood? Cool, thank you for that. All right, a timer is provided on the large screens which you'll see to ensure every speaker receives updates during the presentation and the remaining time. If the speaker goes over time, or if the speaker's message is not in adherence with the policies, for example, being personally directed, abusive, discriminatory, repetitive, or off topic, I may ask the speaker to cease and terminate their speaker privilege to address the board. At this time, here we are. The first person we will be bringing up is Wendy, is it Lockman? Thank you very much. I'm glad I pronounced that correctly. Thank you very much. And thank you for being here this evening.
Yep. Can you hear me? Okay. Hi, my name is Wendy Lockman. I'm a child psychologist here in Bend. I'm a clinician in private practice, and I'm also a board member for the Central Oregon Association of Psychologists. In my work as a psychologist, I've collaborated with the district since 2010, and my children, Alex and Cammie, have grown up in the Ben Lapine system, and I've worked with a variety of the schools here. Alex is now a college student, and my daughter is an upcoming junior at Bend High. I'm here tonight to represent a group of 135 pediatric, medical, and mental health professionals from our community as they express concerns regarding how technology is currently used in the Ben Lapine schools. I'm also here to support last meeting's push by Well Wired to re-examine the district technology policies. We submitted a letter of concern to the school board via email last week, and that came through a pediatrician, Dr. Kate Brodman, who couldn't be here tonight. You'll notice that the letter is signed by pediatricians, child psychologists like myself, various mental health therapists, and other community clinicians. And we would like to offer collaboration as the district reimagines its current policies. We can provide support on how to adjust those policies based on ongoing research into the best practices for kids' physical and mental health, their academic success, and as it relates to screens and technology use in the schools. Areas to address in your new policies could include setting limits on daily screen time for students, examining which parts of the educational experience are best utilized using screens and technology versus paper and pencil, and reconsidering which technology is offered with the awareness of the potentially addictive aspects of the technology and the effects of that on the developing brain. We've presented a signed copy of the letter to respectfully respectfully submit to the school board. And we thank you so much for your time and for consideration of this.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Now I have Megan Bauman. Thank you very much, Ms. Bowerman.
Gotcha. Hi, I'm Megan Bowerman. I'm here as both a parent and a teacher, and I also want to talk to the issue of technology in the classrooms. I'm sure other people will talk about cell phones, but I do want to talk about iPads within the classroom. I'm going to start just as a teacher, and I brought in show and tell from my son, a first grader. And this is his favorite, what I like about school, first grade reflection. And I just thought it was a little poignant that you can't see it, I know. The picture is a group of students sitting diligently in front of iPads while the playground is empty behind. When I read the list of what he likes most, he says iPads, Lexia, Dreambox, Epic, and Friends and Recess fall at the bottom. Now I know Ben Lapine is doing way more than this, I know. But I just couldn't help but wonder what would be on my kid's picture and what would be on his top line if iPads weren't a daily part of his agenda. And then I wanted to talk, I got time. I want to move to my teacher role, and I wanted to just share some stories. I'm an English teacher over at Bend High, and I want to talk briefly about life around 2021 when we came back from the pandemic, where all kids were on iPads, and it was just the way we needed to do things. And those rooms were silent. But not in like a focused way. Like if you would look behind those screens, there was split screening happening, if you know what I mean. There was what they want on one side and what they're supposed to be doing on another. So in 2023, I moved to an iPad-free classroom, and I do everything on paper. And I just want to share a story of what my room is like. It is filled with life. Students look at each other. They look at me when I'm talking to them. They get up in the middle of me talking to them to go sharpen their pencils, and then we all wait. Awkwardly. It's awesome. We walk to the library to get books, and when we come back, they smell them. And so I offer these just as stories of that life can't exist in the classroom without iPads. It's awkward, it's loud, it's messy, but it's pretty human. And so I just want to end by asking you, yes, to consider smartphones, and yes, to consider what our students are bringing in, but also maybe to consider what we're putting in their hands. So thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Appreciate it very much. Paul Bacon.
Hi, I'm Paul Bacon. I'd like to cede my time to look at.
Thank you. No problem. Thank you. Is it Brooke Muse? Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Brooke. I appreciate it very much. Come on. Come on. Was it Brooke, Jan? Who was it? I'm sorry. Who was the other name? I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry.
All right. Hi, my name is Brooke Muse. I'm a parent of 2 children in the Bend Lapine School District, and I'm a co-founder of Well Wired. I too am concerned with how curriculum and iPads are used in the school and whether or not they're enhancing student learning. They're often gamified, reward-based, easy to cheat, and as you'll hear tonight, they're impacting our children's developing brains. For example, my 2nd grade son became obsessed with the math game Prodigy this year, which it's because it's mostly a video game that sometimes serves math questions. I watched him play Prodigy for 15 minutes, and within that time, he spent 1 minute answering math questions and 14 minutes playing a video game, pushing the screen, watching his guy move around a magical land. This screen time didn't feel like it was enhancing his learning. And worst of all, he was rushing through his Dreambox math lessons to get to Prodigy, which was also concerning. My question is, who in Bend Lapine Schools is responsible for vetting the online EdTech curriculum and then evaluating whether or not it's working? And I ask that because I understand the apps are easy to provide the reports, but to actually interpret the data is probably pretty challenging. For example, my son, 2nd grade, who's always excited to tell us when he gets to the next level in Lexia, the reading app, he said, "Mom, Lexia is really easy because you just skip the reading passages and then you tap at the screen to get the right answer, and eventually you move to the next level." So after learning more, I assume that the app has been falsely reporting his actual reading comprehension all year. And unfortunately, that's been misleading not only my son and us, his parents, but also his teachers and you, the district. So when evaluating the tech, I ask, how are you to tell what data is real and what isn't real? How do we know if it's working? I ask that Ben LaPine Schools considers removing iPads from the younger grades, rigorously vets what's made available to kids on the iPads, and most importantly, begins using tech intentionally and really as a tool to enhance learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Brooke, appreciate it. And I made the mistake of skipping over Jesse. I'm sorry, Jesse. Jesse, is it Kurtz Nicholas? Nicholas, I'm sorry. Okay, no problem. So, and your name is, I'm sorry, ma'am? Oh, you're Brooke, I'm sorry. I took my glasses off for a second. So, Miss Famika, Amy? Yeah, I know, yeah, I know.
There's lots of other families and parents that have, I will talk about phone-free schools just because that hasn't been touched on yet.
Okay.
Is it on? Yeah, okay. So I am Amy. I'm a co-founder of Well Wired. Just a couple quotes to share as we start. From a 13-year-old student, I feel like I need it, like it helps me get through the day. My phone is my escape. From a teacher in Ben LaPine, phones are the root cause of so many of the problems that occur during the school day. Focus, attention, and behaviors have never been worse over the course of my 20-plus year career. And another teacher, even my students said it would be nice to have school without them as long as everyone didn't have a phone at school. Kids need adults to create boundaries, and we have not done enough regarding smartphones in schools. From a parent, echoed by many parents that we've been in contact with, there's no need for kids to have phones in schools. Any convenience is vastly outweighed by the harm of the constant access and addiction to screens. So the need for phone-free schools here in Ben LaPine in all grades, this is something that I feel really strongly about. And phone-free means that phones are unavailable from the first bell to the last bell of the school day. And it goes beyond the silent and away during class time policy that we currently have. I've spoken to administrators from other school districts on the West Coast who've gone phone-free, and they have walked me through the roadmap for building support from teachers, parents, and students. They have discussed different approaches, everything from the Yonder pouches, which are magnetized locking pouches that kids check their phones into, to a policy of off and away in lockers all day, which Cascade Middle School did part of the year to some success, and I believe Pacific Crest will follow suit next year. But I feel a stronger district-wide policy is needed at all levels. And the message I really hope we send to all of our students and that our kids deserve to hear, because we're learning now that phones and social media access on those phones are designed to be highly addictive, and they need limits during the school day as our kids learn and develop away from these devices, if they are given them. The Surgeon General, which you may know, has just recently, yesterday, asked Congress to put warning labels on the social media platforms similar to the warning labels on packs of cigarettes. This is serious stuff, and it's impacting our kids daily. So schools are a place where we want kids to socialize freely without the fear of being filmed or fear of an unflattering picture taken and then posted on a Snapchat school feature, which is a new feature Snapchat has for
Amy?
all of their peers to see.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're
I want to thank
welcome.
everyone who came out tonight. Thank you very much. And I have time for one more, actually. We're good? Okay. Do we have anyone else before I go on to the next agendized item? Yes, sir. You have one more, time for one more. Yeah, I know. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Paul Bacon. Thank you to the school board for this opportunity to speak to you directly. I'm here tonight as the parent of children who attend Ben LaPine schools. I share the concerns of the 130-plus physicians surveyed by Well Wired who urge caution and reasonable reforms for personal technology in the classroom. I pledge to do all I can at home as a parent while asking our schools to never stop guiding kids towards healthy tech use during school hours. More than a year ago, the U.S. Surgeon General said that our rapidly evolving technology fundamentally changes how our kids think about themselves, how they build friendships, and how they experience the world. He added, this is something that prior generations have never had to manage. The stakes could hardly be higher in this issue. So I ask the school board to please do everything in your power to enact reasonable tech reforms for the classroom to help protect our children's mental health. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bacon. I appreciate it very much. And now we'll turn it over to Dr. Cook for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Chair LeGrand. I have 2 items on my superintendent's report tonight. I want to talk about, I want to give a chance for tech use to be a point of discussion for the board. And I'm going to, that's my first item. And my second item is circling back to levy and the conversation about the levy results and starting our next steps in that. And in both of these instances, I'm going to cede my time for my superintendent's report to first to talk about the tech use philosophically is our IT director, Scott McDonald. And then for the levy portion of the conversation of the superintendent's report, I'm going to ask Scott Maben, our communications director, to come up to the podium and have that conversation with you. And in both of these instances, we are glad to have questions if the board has questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate being let out of the basement to come up to speak about this important topic. I'm Scott McDonald, your IT director. A lot of these matters don't necessarily fall or just land completely in IT. I would like to address our side of the equation personally because I am someone who's been involved with the project since its inception, somewhere close to 2012. So I just appreciate the chance to talk with you guys about what we do with digital learning. Ben Lapine Schools takes a proactive and holistic approach to student technology use in and out of the classroom. We evaluate our digital learning program regularly through the school year. We welcome input from educators, students, families, and members of our community. We strive to provide a safe and effective and appropriate digital learning environment for all of our students. We understand that members of our community have valid concerns regarding screen time, and especially the screen time that children experience for communication, social, and entertainment purposes. We share these concerns, which is one of the reasons the district over the past 2 school years has phased in an off and away policy practice for student phones and other personal devices. We're also aware that there are many concerns about the instructional use of school-provided devices, such as the iPads. The iPads we provide students, they are managed devices. They have controls, such as filtered internet access. We do our best to ensure safe and appropriate use. Access to tools and apps via these devices are intended to promote quality instruction and learning. Give educators and families an opportunity to work together to advance the goals of safe and responsible use of technology. Students may access several safety features on these iPads, including the First Step Youth Crisis and Support Service, our district's bias incident reporting form, and our newly updated Student Code of Conduct. The digital tools and applications that are used by students in Ben Lapine Schools are routinely reviewed and evaluated between our instructional staff and my team in IT. Each week, a team meets to review tools and applications in order to maintain an inventory of up-to-date, high-value applications for use by students and staff. Our annual evaluation of digital learning at Ben Lapine Schools is a comprehensive process. It spans the entire school year. It begins in the spring with careful consideration of digital curriculum requests that are submitted by every school and then are reviewed to give teachers answers by the end of the instructional year. Over the summer, the big picture things, we engage in further discussions about purchasing, security, learning management systems such as Canvas, classroom management, student wellness and safety, and plan for any necessary teacher training. Changes that are currently under consideration. Ben Lapine Schools is dedicated to improving how our students and families and educators work together to provide a positive and healthy learning environment for our students using technology. For the 24-25 school year, the district is considering several potential changes in how students interact with technology in our schools. The changes under consideration include limiting device use for students in kindergarten through second grade. This could entail an emphasis on will entail an emphasis on research-based applications that are beneficial, diagnostic, or transformative for student learning. Removing access to YouTube content on student devices at the elementary and middle school level. YouTube is currently the only social media platform available on student devices, and the access to that is filtered. Providing a device management resource to teachers, allowing them to provide student access to specific apps for the specific length of their class period. This instructional tool is powerful and is piloted at select middle schools classrooms this spring. It is in consideration for deployment district-wide for the 24-25 school year. Improving our digital curriculum review and adoption and deployment process. This bullet is just kind of always there. That's in every year. Forming a Ben Lapine Schools digital learning work group with district and community stakeholders, allowing for further conversation about our digital learning program. Thank you for listening, and I will do my best to answer any questions or take notes about things that I probably can't answer right now.
Directors, do you have any questions?
Yeah, so a question about YouTube, and I am not techie, so if this is a silly question, you can just smile at me. The only reason I've heard from teachers like YouTube is really a critical tool, because I debate this and I'm like, it's not,
Right.
but I see how it is in some areas where teachers are trying to teach a student something. Particularly, I've heard it, for example, from music teachers, right, who are trying to teach kids a skill, and so they want them to watch a YouTube video. Is it possible for kids to access just those videos and not have access to the whole?
Right.
And yeah, can you talk about that?
It's actually a really good question, and it's something that we hope is evolving on YouTube side. I think a lot of us that are YouTube users or post content, you see that posting for kids. There was a real push for YouTube for education only. It had too many cheese holes. We struggle with YouTube content because people do use it instructionally. And it's art teachers, music teachers. It's things that are sometimes snuck in and embedded in curriculum that's not even digital. We did block it in 2017. And just based on some things like, do we really need this? Can't just the teacher show it from the front of the room? And is that enough? And it didn't last long. It was a couple months and it came back. Now, that's a long time ago. That's 7 years ago. And I think it's something that, is certainly under consideration again, just considering the current environment. For me, it's the only thing that is social media. And I think we really need to take a hard look at that, because that's what helps us put a real true divide on what's on a phone and what's on our instructional device with the iPad.
Thank you. Another question is just
Just a really quick follow-up to that. Just would that, the tool that you were talking about that's being piloted,
Yeah.
would that at least allow a teacher to only allow YouTube for like a 10-minute
Carrie, yeah,
period?
exactly.
Okay.
Great, because that's a new tool, I didn't even answer that way, so appreciate you bringing that up. This Jamf Teacher does allow for teachers to copy paste links onto the internet into what's it called? It's just essentially a lesson plan. So they could have 5 or 6 videos in YouTube in their lesson plan that kids could go to, and then nothing else, literally nothing else. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
And just my other questions about gamification and gamified apps that we use, and games in general on the iPads. Is it possible to have no games available on iPads? And if so, why haven't we done this? Or are we thinking about doing this?
So iPads have a strength in that we have a self-service where all our apps are placed, and those are the apps that we really encourage teachers to shop from and use and those have been vetted. Now, the internet is much larger than that. That's where a lot of those games live. And we filter by category, and we block games. Now, there's a lot of games, and Prodigy was a great example, that's an educational, it's not labeled as a game, it's labeled as an educational tool. So when those come to light, we have to make a decision on whether that is blocked or not. And in the case when Prodigy was brought to us, actually by Well-Wired, it was blocked at least on a temporary basis until it could be properly vetted by the coach team. So it's not available right now.
That's great. And,
Just one.
no, well, and I feel like Lexi and Dreambox also kind of fall in that category, right? And when we talk about gamified learning and the addictive nature on the brain and how our brain responds to those rewards, right, with constant dopamine rushes. And I think that's one of the concerns from the medical group. And, as someone who works in adult medicine and sees addictive behaviors, and I see addiction on phones starting very young,
Right.
I just want to make sure that we're very conscious of that as we're using tools actually for learning and trying to remove the games that are more dopamine rushes than actual embedding information in our brains.
I'm just going to agree. I think there's a lot of merit to that argument. I think, some of our apps do try and strike that balance of engagement and the hard and fast learning. Not many. Dreambox is one that we should really be looking at that, but that's one part of so many tools that are within Dreambox, and Dreambox is a diagnostic tool that's meant to, this is really the crux of what I want to say, it's meant to be used in that class time for a very kind of short diagnostic picture. And it is the intent that once that diagnostic portion is done, they're done, and that game piece is not a part of that. And so I think that's conversations that we have, instructional conversations where we just say, let's stay with the meat of this, keep your time tight, and move on.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I just want to comment, I'm so appreciative of the community for showing up to have these conversations, and I'm really appreciative of the district for engaging in these conversations, because we learn sometimes from making mistakes, right? And we rolled out technology quickly. It was a panacea, and now we're seeing maybe some negative consequences. So I just want to appreciate the work of the people in this room in looking at that to help guide our kids and guide our schools to better outcomes for everybody. So thank you.
Right. Director Fisher, I think you had a question.
Yeah, I want to echo those thoughts. One, it's such a fine balance because we need technology skills, particularly I think in upper grades, getting ready for whatever comes next post-graduation. But I want to circle back to the game piece. There's kind of a gray area from the games I've seen over the last 12 years with my kids that are clear learning tools and others that really don't qualify as learning at all, in my opinion. And I'm wondering, can we, just as you're saying, tighten up on time, which is ideal, but teachers need support on how to do that, and kids need guidance on how to do that, of course. But with regard to the game selections, can we tighten up a little bit more on what qualifies as really high quality, important, differentiating learning games, and games that are really about kids sitting behind their desk or they're looking at this and trying to one up each other on who can get the highest score, that those don't seem to be helpful. And can we tighten up on and filtering that out on your end and with teacher input, so it's not like an all or none? I'm wondering how feasible that is.
I think that that's something that we can consider more deeply with the work group. But I want to reiterate that a lot of our apps that are intended for use, the things that are instructionally valuable, they're not gamey. We have the ones that we promote, the ones that should be being used are not. And so that's why I do like to land on that place of, there was a time when we started this, when we were really kind of pioneers in 2012, where we really had these plans about what buildings were doing with their technology, and they submitted that, and we were working from those documents, and that helped that conversation, Cameron, because when you really, what Amity Creek does is totally different than what the Technology Magnet does at Juniper. And so the apps at Juniper that maybe look gamey, they're coding games. They're things that really do have kind of hard skills, whereas other schools don't subscribe to those type of apps at all. And you wouldn't find many of them in self-service. We don't really throw those out there. There's a lot of meat and potatoes in what we really are trying to get people to be doing on the iPads.
And I appreciate that. And I think things are so different from 2012, 2014. And even just in my world as a teacher, when we could just easily access a TED Talk to share, or something that was really valuable of YouTube without this, just a slew of ads that it's hard to, piece through it, right? And so I think that filtering piece, again, not just about games, but just what is accessible,
right.
And arming teachers with tools on how to filter that, because it's kind of daunting, because if you want to show a video that's really helpful, Bill Nye the Science Guy or something, the last day of school or whatever that is, it's a huge number of ads that are to get through, and that's what kids are seeing. And I think so that filtering piece, I'm really glad you mentioned that, and that's on the list of considerations, because it's so different, right, than 10 years ago of what we see constantly.
And just to reconnect with that, the reason I said those years, I think it's just time. It doesn't have to be school plans, but I think we could have more of those kind of practice plans for 2024, 25, just those kind of conversations. Because a lot of this just is, I could stand up here for an hour, and I'm probably going to get a glare for that, but some of the things that people are doing that are not talked about, like the Ignite Reading program, or some of the transformational stuff, even some Canvas courses are very just info, some are very dynamic, and it's just, we could really, it'd be fun to show you some of the treasures that are there that are really only things that people could do with these devices.
Last thing I'm going to say on that, and I totally appreciate that as well. And I think one thing that's hard to balance is the so many benefits of whether it's iPads or Google Chromebooks that other districts have done, is to be able to differentiate learning for English learners, students who qualify for special education, for students who have strengths and more challenges, and to be able to do that in real time. Our high-dose tutoring that's happening, that they're of great values, but it's trying to, again, going back to that idea of pulling things in. And so I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Director Murphy-Lindalis.
Two quick questions, hopefully. One is, do we provide time guidance to teachers at different grade levels? Like in first grade, students should only be on iPads for 10 minutes a day.
We have not measured that, other than to state that especially at the younger grades, technology is much more prescribed of what the intended use. Lexia, Dreambox, really great reading, and now some students with the tutoring. Beyond that, they shouldn't really be out, and just that's what they're there for. They have that purpose. Other purposes come and go. There's special projects that can certainly be where they're useful, but that is, and I think this is probably better for Tammy to say, but elementary, it should be technology light, and it just kind of steps up as we get through the years.
Yeah, I wonder if that would be helpful. Part of the reason I ask is that I was working in 2012 nationally, trying to encourage teachers to use technology more, because at that time we thought it was going to be this, breakthrough differentiator, and the barrier a lot of times was teachers not wanting to use new technology. And so I'm just curious, to go from, for a while we were trying to get them into the hands of every kids and encourage their use, and now we're here, has there been an intentional change to say, we were wrong, or we actually, the goal now isn't to make sure that everyone's using them. The goal is to make sure that they're used, very specifically and tightly.
Never the we were wrong thing, but more of like, where are we at in the progression, right? When we started, SAMR, the SAMR model was kind of the catchphrase we were using: substitution, augmentation, modification, redefinition. There was a dotted line between in the middle of the four. And so at that time, everything was just like, it's okay to be substituting. You did this activity on paper, give it a shot on the don't be afraid, give it a shot. Now, here we are a dozen years later, that dotted line is important. We should really be on the modification, redefinition side. And I think that's kind of the conversations we could have in our buildings, in our schools. Quite frankly, I don't mind it when a teacher parks their iPads in a dish rack on the side if they're not using them. I don't take any offense to that. They're in charge of their content. They're the master of their content. These tools come out of those dish racks when they offer something that's a modification or redefinition that they couldn't do otherwise. And it's a tool we provide to them. It's up to them how much they're used or not. And I want to support that choice, but also make sure that we're just providing rich tools for every grade level so that they've got options.
Thank you.
And then just to be clear, I've been thrilled that we've been moving towards the off and away policies. I have heard that they are working to varying degrees. What is the process at this point over this summer or leading into next school year, if any? What steps are we taking to tighten, learn, change those policies?
These conversations do not go into the basement, so
Okay.
I defer to the corner pocket over there.
I'll just go ahead and speak to that. One of the things we had varying degrees of success with implementation across the district this year, and part of what we seek next year is making sure that it's more clearly understood that it's K-12, and that along with that is a clear set of guidance and expectations for what those violations might look like at a more comprehensive level. Whereas this will be year 3, right, for middle schools. I'm looking at Juan, year 3, right? Going into year 3 for middle schools, going into year 2 for high schools, and going into kind of a baseline year at the elementary level where we've been treating it more as one-offs. And I think collectively a K-12 vision and a set of expectations on this with clear guidance on what happens when we violate that, and supports that building principals and staff have asked for to make this more implementable. So that's what we heard feedback was. We were all doing this gangbusters for 2 months, and then it just starts to erode because kids are tenacious and they're gonna find ways to get and push, and it just winds up being this teacher's holding the line, excuse me. And the one down the hall is not, or the kids are doing a really good job of convincing that teacher that that teacher isn't. And so part of this, what we're gonna be seeking is a lot of partnership. This is not a school district only problem. This is a collective conversation for us to have, but we're glad to step in and do our part on this. And we look forward to some level of work group on this, because this, phones aren't 7-hour-a-day things. A 16-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 9-year-old with a phone, they have them for 24 hours a day. And how does that happen in all of their environment as part of the conversation?
And my final piece is, sorry. Yes, Shirley.
Yeah, I just would like to add that this conversation also needs to be in partnership with parents. And any way that we can include student voice and parent voice in terms of what we're doing and any changes that we might make, I would encourage us to do that. So, and again, we'll have parents who will feel very strongly one way or the other, as we all know. But that's okay. We need the input, and then we make the decisions. Thanks.
And while we have a student here, what input would you like to have in this?
I've been waiting.
Thank you.
I'm
nervous.
curious of like you said, you were talking about dynamic learning and then basically ineffective learning via the iPads as a tool and the limitations of the iPad. So I'm curious of what number or percent of dynamic learning via tech that we have in our school? Do you have any like rough number or idea?
That would be a hard thing to measure.
Yes.
It'd be like measuring how well a lesson's essentially delivered.
Yeah.
I will say, if it fits in your answer, that we are investigating ways to, a parent can turn on screen time and see how much time a student's been on certain parts of the device, or how much time they've been on the internet, or where they've been. They can even set limitations on that. We have a JAMF parent that does the same kind of things, and even more so. We're looking at options where we could have some of that same sort of data available for us, but that's just something right now we're exploring. And I don't know that time really is the measure of good use of technology, and so I'm really hoping a lot of that comes through our coaching support and some of the things that we could do in our teaching teams with really providing dynamic, transformational, or things that you just couldn't do without the device.
Yeah, I think that goes to my point that it's inconsistent among the teachers of, this one uses it this way, this one uses it this way, and it's inconsistent. And altogether, when you all mesh it up, obviously it's ineffective if this is what we've been talking about for a while. So I know that it is a blocker when it's not used as the tool that we need it exactly to be with. And you can't do that with the internet. Like we've been saying, technology is a very useful tool, therefore it's a very, very strong tool, a very popular tool. To make it exactly what we need it to be effective for students, we would just have to make our own iPad. We would just have to call it something else. It wouldn't be an iPad. So in that case, then we should just remove the blockage and restore the teacher-student relationship that I have with 1 or 2 out of my 7 teachers, and the ones that I truly respect because I've used it as a tool in high school, may I add, not in elementary school. So I know that if we implemented iPads or more technology efficient learning tools in high school, and then that went as a platform for their after high school plans instead of in elementary school when their brain is just, elementary school kids can't focus on iPads unless they have a game, unless they have that same feeling that they get from playing on the playground. So it's ineffective in my opinion.
My question is the uses of it to staying at school and not going home. How do you think that would impact your learning from a high school's level?
Personally, I like using my technology devices or my iPad when I'm at home and at school. It just depends on the situation. I like that I can bring it home, continue what I'm working on, be productive, and it works for me personally. When we were online, I went to a different online school and I did very well. So it honestly just depends on the student, and I think majority would rule that they like having the iPad because it's the only way they can connect to their teacher. When the students who want to be productive, want to do good, they have to ask their teacher something at some point, and it may be after school. So.
Thank you, Taylor. I appreciate it very much. So for what I'm hearing is this, and my thing I was going to ask is that, or just any suggestion for me is figuring out a way to how we can, like you said, keep them within their room locked in. And when you transfer class to class, you never have them in the halls. Just use them only in your class that you're in. As a high school student, like you're saying, finding ways to be able to know what's the best, some of the best possible ways to utilize this piece, I think is essential too. But ultimately what I'm trying to figure out is this, and here's what I'm hearing from everyone, is that we all have to get in a room, figure this out together, collectively with the community, with the instructors, and so on. And we know it's a progression. So I think we're gonna hopefully find a great way to make this happen. And thank you for your time. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you for your time.
Can I ask one question? I promise it'll be short, I think. I'm gonna ask it. So has the district looked at like direct correlation between screens and technology and behavior? Like I think about I think about a toddler who's used to watching something on the phone, and the second you take it away, they freak out, right? Versus a toddler who hasn't seen a screen until they're 2, and they could be in a store making music on like a clothes rack or something. Like what has been done by the district to, I guess, differentiate or link those two, technology and behavior? Because we all know, right? I mean, directly from the pandemic, behavior has been a massive issue. And so I'm curious whether part of that is also due to more screen time or less. Yeah.
I would say that on an individual student basis, my IT team does a lot of work with admin, counselors, success, you name it, to help students. That's one of the strengths of an iPad, is we can do some nuclear options to really reduce some of the access that a student can have on a case-by-case basis, and maybe even graduate out. But we don't, not in the large, not in the whole, not in a big picture level. We do a lot of support, a lot of individualized support.
Thank you for that. And the other piece that I would love to hear more from is like the teacher who spoke earlier. Like, I would love to hear more from teachers and their input on using the iPads or not, and what that looks like for them.
I think it is high time for a work group that includes teachers. Megan and I have been in the room together on this topic, but it was like 6 years ago, you know? Yeah, and yeah, it's time to wrestle again. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you very much. Scott?
Good evening. So I just want to take a few minutes tonight to share with you that we are planning and starting to take a really close look at the outcome of last month's levy election. This is going to include a couple different things. First, we want to do an analysis of our voter turnout, and as part of that, we want to take a look at a breakdown of results by the 36 precincts within the boundaries of Ben Lapine schools. It's worth noting that just yesterday, the Deschutes County Clerk's Office certified the election results for the May primary. So now we have a lot of data to look at, and a lot of that specific to our levy in our district just came in to us today. So we have some work to do there. We'll be reporting back to the board on our analysis of all that.
When is that happening? Sorry.
Pardon me?
When is that happening, the report back? Board?
We're anticipating having this to you by your August board meeting.
Okay, thanks.
And part of that is also the second piece of our work will be a survey conducted of voters. So we want to ask our voters about the proposal and just try to glean some insights to what was on their minds and what they were feeling about the ask. We intend to hear from those who share with us that they voted no on the levy. And we want to explore what was the reason or reasons that may have been their choice. We also want to hear from those who share with us that they supported the levy. I think it's just as important that we take a look at their impressions of what was going on in our community, what the essential issues or factors may have been for the outcome. So those two pieces. One more thing about the survey is we also want to include, or we are including a question asking voters what the district could do to improve on a potential local option levy proposal at a future date. So I think it's good time to capture all of those sentiments. So like I said, a lot of data coming in, a lot of questions that we're asking. We're eager to get some results to you just as soon as we can.
Can I ask you a question about the poll? I have not received it myself, but I have a friend who received it 2 different times, once on the phone and once via text message. She got a link. But, you know, she was a yes, and you just said we're polling people no's and yeses. And she was a little bit confused because the questions were, why do you think it didn't pass? And I'm kind of confused by that as well, because how are we going to use that data? Like if someone voted yes and then they're literally just guessing why they think it failed, how does that information help us? Why are we collecting that data? And rather than just from the no's of why it failed, because it would seem to me that's where we need to target it.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. The way we designed the survey is you know, of course we appreciate the support we got, but I think we can glean a broader perspective from voters about what, not only from their perspective or from their own personal feelings about the levy, and also what they're picking up from talking with friends, neighbors in the community. So it's broader than just their own decision or their own personal reason for voting. I think with the no votes, we really wanted to drill down deeper on what those reasons were. I mean, it failed. And so I think we need to understand exactly what it was, what those reasons were that people were not coming out in support of the levy at this time. So I think we were trying to ask the questions in different ways based on the feedback that people are giving us about how they voted. Does that make sense?
As long as you're looking at that data separately, like why the people who actually said no
Yes.
think
Yeah,
that it
oh, yeah,
failed,
I'm
and why
sorry.
the people
It
that said
is-
yes
yeah.
think that it failed are 2 different
Yeah.
sets of.
If they choose to share with us how they voted, and it appears that most are comfortable sharing how they voted, then they have 2 different options. Basically, the survey splits, and they go through a series of questions, and then it comes back together at the end to ask some similar questions. So that's the survey design.
My questions is, and this is my brain being the way I think, is many of the people who vote, unfortunately, don't know the interminglings of what happened in the district or the central office or in the classroom or in buildings every single day. My question is there a way we can talk to the teachers, because they're the ones who have to do a lot of the work of what we're trying to figure out to get the support for. I understand that levy is definitely going to change people's pocketbooks a little bit. I get that. But I think getting information from the people who it impacts the most on a daily basis, which are the teachers and the things that they need, how can we get information from them to understand the support the levy piece? Because the taxpayers is one thing, because like I said, they can read the financial reports, they can read the P&L statement, they can do all those different pieces, but they really don't have a true understanding of what happens in the classrooms every day, right? Of how learning loss, or how not having a EA or TA, you know what I'm saying, or something. How can we figure out so people understand the totality of why we're asking for this? Because I think that those are the people who do the work every single day, and they give us better insight too. Because I think a lot of times, and this is just me from the tea leaves, and what I'm hearing is, and this is just me being me, a lot of the teachers didn't get behind it because they didn't feel it was supporting them. So that's just me speaking out loud. So how do we try to gather all that together so we making sure we have a comprehensive thing that's not only just led by us as a board and as a district, but also for getting support from the people internally who do all the work?
Well, I think that feedback would be valuable for us to seek. I don't know if, I guess I have some questions about the timing, and I think we need to discuss that a little further. Summer break may not be the best time, to go out and engage with our teachers about that, but we can certainly consider. I think it'd be valuable to first get this analysis of the voter patterns and turnout, and do this survey, and come back and chat with you in August And then maybe we can talk about some of those next steps about going deeper and engaging with some different constituencies.
Thank you. Any other directors have any other questions?
Yeah, just quickly, when you come back in August, it would be great if you were able to bring the new poll data, but also speak to the polling data that we looked at to make this decision. And now with 2020 hindsight, which is always, different than in the moment, were there signals that we missed or misread? I'm just thinking for the next time a board decides to make this decision, it'd be good to have some retrospective on how we looked at that poll that we paid for before and what we may have misread.
Absolutely agree with you. We've already talked about doing that, reaching back and looking at the first survey was 6 months before Election Day, and the second was 4 months before Election Day. I think there are lessons we can learn from looking back now.
Directors?
I'm just gonna say, when we looked at that data though, and you and I have had these conversations that it was very close. It was on the line. And when you incorporate the margin of error of 5%, I know it was really hard to decipher, based off of who they polled before the election, before we moved forward. If they can provide any nuggets of insight, right, correlating that initial data with what we have now with the county, that would be cool. But I don't know, it really felt like it was this 50-50 split. I don't think we imagined the margin being this big. But yeah.
Correct, I agree. We'll take a look at that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. Superintendent Cook, do you have any additional things for the superintendent report?
That is all.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it very much. I will now turn it over to Kenzie Martin, Executive Director, Advocacy, Policy, and Equity for the Equity Coalition update. And thank you for your patience. And I know we had guests who were supposed to help speak. Thank you very much for being patient.
All right, while the slides are getting up there, thank you for having us this evening. I'm Kinsey, and I have Neptune and Apollo here. We're going to sort of co-present a little bit back and forth as we go. The topic we're going to share with you tonight is regarding our District Equity Coalition, and a little bit of really just an introductory overview of what is this group, why do we have it, what are we up to as a group, and then some next steps. So pretty basic and broad overview, but our hope would be to come back on a more regular basis to share more updates and go more in depth with you all. So with that, see, I told you every time. There we go. Okay, so just to give you a little history on where this group comes from, and I want to point out too that this group has existed for 4 years now, pretty crazy. But prior to this current Equity Coalition, we had what we called an equity cadre in the district that Laura Nordquist had the sort of vision and passion to organize and get started. So our Equity Coalition is actually kind of version 2 of a group like this, but pretty different in many ways. So starting back in fall of 2020, we had a group that started meeting, and we spent a year just in the planning phases of what do we want this to be? How do we go about this? How do we make sure that it's an effective group, an effective structure? And we were really fortunate to have external consultation from Sonia Little Deer Evans to sort of help push our thinking and help us think outside of our typical system. So with that, by spring of 2021, we started a recruitment process that was different than the way that we've done stuff like this before. So instead of going to the people that we know, that we have connections with and saying, hey, do you want to be part of this group? Or just sort of opening it up and seeing who self-selects into the group, we actually used those contacts and networks to ask those folks to help us find people we don't yet know, that we don't yet have at the table, who don't typically get invited to be the representative from, community groups or agencies, or student and family representative, just to kind of go one step beyond the folks that we typically tap, that are typically sitting at our table. So that was a different approach. And then we really were trying to think about how to structure the meetings in a way that was, not just sort of a consultation group, but really a shared power model, a co-design model. And that actually started with, we spent probably our first year as a group just talking about who we wanted to be together with the group, and what we wanted to accomplish, and talking about norms and agreements, and really digging into the word equity and what all of our members understood equity to mean, and what we collectively wanted it to mean, and agreeing on a decision-making framework for the group, a kind of a consensus decision-making model. We explicitly chose not to use more of the Roberts Rules model, but have found some different structures that work really well for the culture that our group has been intentionally developing. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to Neptune to share a little bit about what a typical meeting looks like, and kind of how they're structured.
Okay, this is totally not scary. Okay, so we have our meetings once a month on a Monday, slightly late at night, in this room, and it's really great. I love all our meetings. Oh yeah, okay. So we also have accessibility considerations, and so we allow for Zoom, for some of our members to be on Zoom while the rest of us are in person. And we also supply dinner and childcare for our members. And we have diverse representation, so that's students and families and staff. And so we have students from middle and high school, and parents of middle schoolers, high school, elementary students, I think. And then we also have elementary, middle, and high school teachers on our. And we also have people from different backgrounds. So, yeah.
Yeah, we've got different racial identities, religious backgrounds, different abilities represented. Pretty great group of people. Current students, former students, and then certified, classified, administrative staff. And we intentionally don't, it's not an open, who wants to join? It's a, we have a recruitment and a new member onboarding process when we have an opening, to be very careful about the culture of our group, and making sure that we're moving the work forward, and not needing to sort of stop and recalibrate every meeting, which it's been helpful. It's taken us a while to sort of get into that space, but we're starting that flywheel is really starting to go as far as getting the work going. So then jumping forward, I should say, it says spring 2023. The Senate Bill 732, I think, passed in 2021, but the rules didn't get created, and guidance didn't get shared until 2023. So the state actually came out in officially 2021 with a new requirement that every district in the state of Oregon has to have an equity advisory committee. And the requirements are, they've got lots of specific components to it, but there are 3 charges that the state has given to the group that every district must have. And those charges are to elevate student voice, to monitor district climate, and to inform policy decisions. So that is what the state of Oregon has said. Every district will have an equity advisory group. It will be made up of diverse identities and representations from the community, and it will do these 3 things. And then the other requirement that they wrote into law was that there's a liaison between the Equity Coalition and the Budget Committee. So I think you're probably aware that we have a member who sits both on your Budget Committee and our Equity Coalition. The other thing I'd say about this is that given those 3 charges, that the Equity Advisory Committee, or what we're calling as our Equity Coalition, Those connect obviously pretty broadly to all 4 of the board goals, but in particular, board goal 3 around inclusion, wellness, and belonging. That's definitely been a focus that our group has chosen to dig in on. And then number 4, as it relates to sort of policy and systems, is another key connection to the board goals. So I'm going to pass it to Apollo to talk a little bit about our policy work in particular.
Yeah, thank you for your time. It's been a really good experience just because of the diverse backgrounds and then being able to hear different people's point of view. I just have to second that we definitely work on recruitment, but we also make sure we have diverse perspectives within as we're reviewing policy. So as you can see here, we reviewed the family engagement policy. Actually, there wasn't any. So we ended up providing recommendations for the of an engagement policy where we tackled basically communications, what expectations should be expected to include student voices, families, when they and how they can get involved. So we ended up providing recommendations on a family engagement policy. We're currently tackling the treatment of religion, cultural regalia at graduation and advertising. So we're working on those this month, and we should have something by now this month, some recommendations. So again, there's banter, we go back and forth. So, but at the end of the day, we definitely come together within our meetings and definitely leave in a good spirit. You know, dinner helps because, you know, it's that late, so it definitely helps. But it has grown into a really tight community and really supportive. So I just want to add to what Neptune said about our meetings. It's a very tight-knit community, and we definitely respect each other and definitely respect our points of views, even though they may be different. So, yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, you might think on an equity coalition and having spent a lot of time developing our shared equity sort of stance as a group, that some of these topics would be just sort of, we'd breeze right through them. And as Apollo mentioned, we've had some really rigorous discussion about each of these, and in particular, the advertising policy is one that the group will be wrapping up recommendations at our next week meeting to bring back to the district as far as that one. The group's been pulling that one apart and really putting equity lenses on every angle of that policy for a few months now. It's been great conversation. So what's up here was shared with you in the executive summary, so we won't go into those unless you have questions around them. But each of the members here is going to just share a little bit about some of their highlights, having been part of the group for a few years now. We have other members in the audience tonight. Not everyone could be here, but they're just going to share some like why they've been here for, and maybe how long you've been here as part of the Equity Coalition. Some of our members have been here for 4 years now, 3 years. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll start. I've been in the Equity Coalition since fall of 2020, so during pandemic. And I got invited through Stephanie Beamer. And she thought I would have a very unique point of view and lens. So I work as academic advisor at OSU Cascades. So been through that for a while. So it's been a very positive experience. Again, I love hearing the different ideas and definitely challenging certain ideas are challenged within our meetings. Definitely the ability or just being able to serve. I think we are here just to serve and serve our communities and being able to hear voices, hear different points of view, and definitely come to some sort of agreement on what should be recommended. So I would say it's been extremely positive, a very positive experience.
I've also had an extremely positive experience. I was our formerly now middle school representative for our board, because I was the only one, number one. Something that I really love about our Equity Coalition is that we're able to make changes and impact just like generally throughout the entire school district without it being difficult. It's very easy for me, at least, because I'm cool. Yeah, but I really love being able to make change. I've always really loved being a leader and leadership roles, and so it was really great for me to be able to be a part of this. I think I've been a member since, like, I have no clue. Probably like 2 or 3 years, something like that. Not too long, but still been a great experience. I've loved it very much.
Right. So next steps for our group, and jump in. The asterisk Cs at the top, I just wanted to point out, there's a few that our group has discussed or that we've been sort of chewing on, and there's a lot still open because of our shared decision-making and shared power model that we don't, as the sort of core district group, come and say, here's our next steps or our focus for the next year. We work with the group to determine what the group sees, as they monitor district climate and as, they are representing and seeking student voice, thinking about what should our focus be for the year, where do we need to turn our attention. Sometimes particular policies pop up that help us identify areas we need to focus on. But beyond that, the group really will be choosing their focuses. So continuing guidance on upcoming policies. After we finish this advertising piece, we're really going to turn to the fundraising piece as kind of a sister issue to that policy. Improving communication with you all, with school administrators a little more directly. We've been, storming and forming as a group, really getting into the policy pieces. There were some school visits and some connections with school-specific work, but really deepening that's going to be a focus. And then this last one, the system of advisory structures. This is something that as a district we're sort of moving into place. We have a lot of advisory structures. We have some amazing parent and family community leaders, student leaders in a variety of different groups who are working alongside us to, on advocacy projects, on recommendations, on partnering to host events for the community. And so one of the things that we've noticed is there's overlap between the groups, which is great. It means that we're probably digging into some issues that a large part of our community wants to see addressed. But sometimes, that the danger there is maybe leading to inefficiencies or duplicate work. And so one of the things that we're working on is an organizational system where these groups can sort of connect. And, there's times where a few groups might need to connect up and advocate on something so their voices are stronger as, instead of being a bunch of distinct groups, there might be times when all of these groups are sharing advocacy on a particular issue. Or maybe if, one group knows, oh good, that group's got it, then we'll tackle this piece. So a little bit of divide and conquer, knowing there's plenty of work to be done in our system and in our community. So, so this is a structure that we're working on how to get those opportunities for improvement and advocacy into this system through the Equity Coalition as sort of a hub, knowing that we now have liaisons from most of these groups sitting on the Equity Coalition as well. So like, for example, we have a high school student from Ben High who sits on our Black Family and Student Union. She's also on our Equity Coalition. So she gives an update at each of those meetings about the work of the other meeting. Similarly, we have that in place with the Alliance group with Katie and working on a few of those other pieces. So we're just trying to work on coordinating so that voices can be maximized and advocacy can be as strong as possible. And again, knowing that we've got student voice in all of those structures, how do we maximize that from every group that we're working with so that everyone has the opportunity to have their voice heard, to engage with you all, and to engage better with our system. So that's a next step that's going to take us a while to develop. That's a future vision. Ooh, yes.
Okay. It's kind of a question for you. So I'm not sure if we have someone from Student Voice Council. Would very much like that.
This is exactly what we're trying to develop, is this opportunity. We don't yet. So that was something we've been chewing on just this week. We were meeting to kind of talk about what could that look like. And one of the things we said is, well, we need to ask both of these groups, what could that look like? How do we engage with one another? So that knowing that the work will be different at times, and at times there needs to be hey, who's on first and how are we, aligning? So that is very much work that is going to be coming up in this next year. So, okay, I think that's all. Yeah, with that, we can just go straight to questions.
Quick question on this side. At one point, and maybe still, there's an Asian family liaison, or is there a group or?
Not as far as that structure necessarily. We have, some community events and structures, and that particular liaison is an amazing, if and when that feels like something that that she recommends or that our families want. We don't want to, I'm gonna go back there. These groups have come in large part from families and communities saying,
okay,
we've got some stuff to say, we want to work with you, where's our space? And for us, saying, yep, let's do that together. And so there's definitely lots of potential, but we don't want to say, let's form a group, because we want to make sure that the community feels that's the best way to do the work too, so.
And there's an opportunity here at some point.
Yes,
Okay, great.
absolutely. This is not a comprehensive list. We'd love to see other groups as those needs develop, for sure.
Great, thank you.
Other groups, actively.
Directors, any other questions? Neptune, really quick, the Student Voice Council person is sitting right there if you want to talk to him about trying to, yeah, right there. Here, Jackie's right there. So if you can get, my question is this, I was approached by a few families. They love that we're having all these different options and opportunities for them. Their concern is they've done incident reports, but it's the retaliation piece. After they've, submitted a report, regardless if it's anonymous or not, students are feeling concerned and the families are feeling concerned that there's a retaliation, and it's worse once they figure it out. The student gets in trouble because they did something from a biased standpoint or from something from a discriminatory or racist standpoint, and then it gets worse for the students after they've done this, and it's inclined them to not want to submit anymore. So how can we help them work through this to maybe hopefully get their thing addressed?
Thank you. Yeah, I think a few thoughts. So first of all, if there's a family or a student who has experienced that, we want to know. Just on an immediate, personal, situation-specific incident, we would want to know that. So to the extent that there's enough trust to share that with us, we want to know about those specifics, recognizing that that's also just a more broad experience than one particular family. Having 2 middle school kids myself, I know the general fear of sort of, if I say something, they're gonna know it was me, and no matter what the adults do, the kids are gonna know it was me, and it's gonna get worse. And so we have very creative ways to work with a kid or a family or a student and their trusted staff member on minimizing that and minimizing their involvement in any process that happens. I think we're decent at doing that when the concern is other students might know it was me. But if what you're referring to is the student is the one, if the perceived retaliation is from adults in the system, that's a very different conversation. And that, I think we would want to know that as well, so we can do better training with our staff up front on, when someone reports do and do not do kind of things. And then again, specific, if there's particular instances where that might be happening, we definitely have policy and law protecting against retaliation. But again, I have middle school kids. I know just sometimes it's more of a generalized fear that someone's gonna know and then I'm gonna look like a, I can't think of the word in English, anyways. And so, we can work through each of those, but some of them are a little more situation specific and others are creative approaches to incident response. Yeah. But again, these are great opportunities to come engage with us on, and some of it is, to be honest, each of these groups I would say has a level of sort of dealing with the hard stuff together. There's conversations about, my kid's experiencing this, or I'm hearing this about this school, and really unpacking that and being a support for one another within those groups. But there's a lot of fun just connections and things that happen too. It's not all the hard stuff. So these are places to bring those issues to get some support in addressing them, and individual conversations are always appreciate it too if that's better than a group setting, so.
And then not to prolong, I know we got to get going on, but the one thing they mentioned too was that even similar to many of the community members coming here to talk about the technology, so from so on, they feel if they came as a collective force to talk about, you know, their kids been dealing with the same issues, they may still, there was retaliation there, and they're still fearful of being able to come as a collective to do that. And they don't think that in overall the community is welcoming of that, and they think they would get pushback. That's just one of the other pieces they mentioned as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I think what we are all learning about our community is those real conversations are more impactful and more productive than, you know, campaigns. Maybe it's a little too soon to, you know, just the opportunity to sit down with someone and just discuss those concerns. And if it's sit down with a group of people, we actually do a lot of that. And so if, you know, if there's a concern out there, I guess I would just open to the community that we do have folks who are reaching out to say, I want to tell you about this experience, whether individually or sometimes in a more of a group setting. Either one of those is welcome. One way or the other, we want to hear. We want to know. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Directors? Apollo, Neptune, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Appreciate all of you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Items that are routinely in nature are placed on the consent agenda. Any item placed on the consent agenda for action may be removed at the request of any board member prior to the time the vote is taken. All remaining items of the consent agenda are disposable of a single motion. I move to approve the consent agenda as presented. Excuse me? Ooh. Oh, promotion. Oh, my God.
As revised?
Well, I would now make a motion to review the consent agenda.
Hey, I will make a motion, move to approve the consent agenda as consent for action as presented. I'm sorry, Janet, I just messed it up too. I'm blaming Marcus.
As revised.
As revised.
Second.
Yes, people, you do mess up every now and then. Okay, thank you. I have a first and I have a second for the motion. At this time, I will call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I believe all the ayes have it. Bless you. Motion's passed unanimously. I am. Items routinely in nature or informally purpose only are placed in consent for information. I would now return it over to Dr. Steve Cook for the consent for information.
Thank you, Chair LeGrand. This month you will find several documents in consent for information. The first one includes district feedback on both public comments that we received at last month's board meeting, as well as comments made during the Student Voice Council report from the May board meeting. Additionally, we have 3 policies that the district is now adopting this month: IBAP, the freedom of religion; IKE-AP, promotion and retention of students; and IKE-AR, the retention double promotion policies. No public feedback was received on any of these policies. Also, for your information, we have the 4th quarter financial reports in this month's consent for information. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Dr. Cook. And now we'll move on to our action items. Leah, please make sure I pronounce your name correct. Is it Bibbo? Finance Director will now join us. And pronounce it for me again so I can definitely make sure I have it correct. Bebo. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Board. Today in your agenda, you will find I'm bringing forth the 2 annual resolutions. One to request that the Board approve our adopt our proposed budget that was approved back in the May meeting. There is one revision you can see in the document. Given that the operating levy did not pass, we have removed those appropriation items out. We will not be spending those. And we've also removed that tax line from our resolution so that we will not be imposing those taxes. we recommend that you approve 1973 and 1974 as presented. Does anybody have any questions?
All right, I will now entertain a motion.
I move to approve resolutions 1973 and 1974 to adopt the FY 2024-25 budget and impose a tax as presented.
Do I have a second?
I apologize. I'm going to interject. They actually have to do it with the wording that's on the resolutions legally. Do you want these?
Yes, please. I know I'm looking right now, yes. Go ahead, thank you, Amy. Yep.
Okay, so I don't have to read all the numbers, I'm assuming. Resolution number 1973, be it resolved, the Board of Directors of Administrative School District Number 1, Deschutes County hereby adopts the 2024-25 budget in the amount of $469,600,672. Be it further resolved, the Board of Directors of Administrative School District Number 1, Deschutes County hereby directs that for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2024, the amounts shown below are hereby appropriated for the purposes indicated within the funds listed.
Amy, I only needed the first sentence, so thank you very much.
Great.
And on the second resolution, I need the top paragraph. Is it in there?
You need to do them individually.
What's that?
You have to do them one at a
individually?
time,
My
yes.
apologies. Okay.
Yeah. I will now entertain a motion. We can do the first one.
Second.
Okay.
Second, yeah.
Now, there we go. Thank you, Director Phyllis Douglas and Director Tatum. As a second to motion at this time, I will call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It is passed unanimously. Now we're going to go to the second one. We have to read it again.
So resolution number 1975, be it resolved, 1974, got it, I was in the next one. Sorry, I see this one. All right, so now, be it resolved, the Board of Directors of Administrative School District Number 1, Deschutes County hereby imposes the taxes provided for in the adopted budget at the rate of $4,760. $4, sorry, it just goes on with multiple decimals.
7641 yes.
$4.7641 per thousand of assessed value for the permanent tax rate and in the amount of $40,305,249 for bonds, and that these taxes are hereby imposed and categorized for tax year 24-25 upon the assessed value of all taxable property within the district.
It
I
must be
second the
getting late.
motion.
Thank you, Amy.
I will now entertain a motion. Take a vote. Oh, that's right. She's already second. That's right. Now I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It was voted unanimously. Thank you.
Let everybody breathe for half a second. Also in your board packet, we have resolution number 1975. This is for the 23-24 current budget year. And what we're requesting is a transfer between two functions of some general fund dollars in order to make sure that we stay in compliance with budget law on the categories that we are approved to spend within. This does not increase our budget in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't change our proposed bottom line from our financials. It's just a reclassification for budget law purposes. So I hereby ask that you submit for approval resolution number 1975, and no, you don't need to read the whole thing.
All right, so resolution 1975, be it resolved, the Board of Directors of Administrative School District Number 1, Deschutes County.
Amy,
No.
I think you can just read the.
Yeah, you can just say I
Recommended
would
motion.
like to first it and second it.
I want to approve resolution 1975 as recommended.
That one is easy, yes.
I second.
Second, thank you.
Now it's time for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I believe the ayes have it unanimously. Thank you very much, Leah.
I appreciate you guys so much. I know it's late. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last day of school, so it kind of seems unfair, right?
Thank you, Leah. Appreciate it very, very much. On April 4th, 2024, Melissa Barnes-Lockyer resigned from her Zone 6 seat on the board. The vacancy was advertised as open until May 29th. The board received 4 applicants for the vacant position. The applications are included in the board packet. Director Amy Tatum and Director Cameron Fisher invited 4 candidates to interview on June 11, 2024. And Amy, would you please invite to give us an overview on what's going on at this time?
Yeah, so Cameron and I met with the 4 candidates. We used a standard set of questions we'd used during our last interview process, 30 minutes total. And after we interviewed all of the candidates and Cameron and I sat down and talked about it, we had several conversations, and we really just came to the fact that we didn't have a clear candidate that we felt like we could reach consensus on. So therefore, I would like to move that we reopen the posting as soon as reasonable, just given limitations of summer break, and accept applications through September 30th, 2024. All applications, including those of the existing 4 candidates, as long as they're amenable to it, will be brought forward to the full board for consideration in the process.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, Director Olson. And we have a first and a second. Is there any discussion on this topic? Huh? All right, now I call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I believe ayes have it unanimously. Thank you very much.
Sorry, I wasn't fast enough, but given that we didn't receive very many applications, I would love for us to spend some time thinking about additional activities or actions we could take to increase the number of applications. In the past, we've gotten a pretty good response from holding some information sessions, and there might be some other ideas, so to be continued.
Thank you. I will now turn it over to Dr. Cook to present the administrative policies and regulations the district is reviewing.
Thank you, Chair LeGrand. We have 2 policies that will be going out for public review this month. The first one is IGDA-AR, student organizations. We have updated that policy to reflect current district practices as well as some grammatical corrections. And then the second one is IGDAA-AR. Non-curriculum related student meetings as secondary schools is being recommended for deletion, as the language that it lived in that policy has been incorporated to the aforementioned policy. We will be pushing out IGDA for public review here after this meeting.
Sorry. Ooh. Thank you, Dr. Cook. And now we will open the floor up for our board of directors for board comment. Director Olson.
I'd just like to say happy summer and recognize that all of us had the opportunity in the last few weeks to visit high school graduations, 8th grade promotions, field days, all kinds of end of the year activities. And frankly, it's been a pretty darn good year.
Thank you very much. Before I move on to the next director, Taylor, do you have anything?
Honestly, I am excited for the Student Voice Council, given that we're getting started and how we can implement more into the board meetings coming next year and over the summer.
Appreciate you very much. Thank you for being here again.
Thank you.
And thank you, Jackie, for all the work you do helping these students be able to understand what that looks like as well. Director Chadwick.
Just wanted to congratulate everyone, all the graduates. That's like the best feeling ever to attend those. And then also shout out to Ben Tech Academy for their wilderness first aid course, where they made us drive out to the middle of nowhere. Thought I was getting punked or like needed like a buddy system or something. But it was really cool. It was at night, and they created this simulation where a raft had overturned, and the students had to use compasses to find other students who were sprawled out in this wilderness, and then proceeded to provide first aid to them. And then also being a panelist at the Bronze Seal of Biliteracy was also really sweet and so heartwarming. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Director Tatum.
Yeah, I just want to say happy summer to everyone in this room. We've all worked really hard to get here. I'm going to be the sad only working person in my house this summer with my husband as a district employee and my kids on summer break as of tomorrow, so I'm a little bit sad about that. I echo Shirley and Kina's comments about the privilege of being able to attend our graduations. It's honestly my favorite part of being on the board. I also feel like we should thank Deputy Superintendent Nordquist, who is not here tonight, given that she is departing after many, many years of service to the district. And Lisa Burke, we're ready to have you up here very soon and start this work with us. So I'm honored to be able to start working more closely with you. So happy summer, everyone. We earned this and we deserve it.
Director McPherson Douglas.
Yeah, echoing other directors, I think this is my 7th round of high school graduations. Always really enjoy them, and I always spend that weekend feeling the weight of this office, because as every one of those students walks across the stage, it's just a reminder that they are going out to start their lives based on the foundation that we gave them, and that the trajectory of their lives will be forever changed based in large part on their experience in Ben-Lapine. And so it's a time of celebration, but it's also just a reminder of how seriously we all need to take our jobs and do. And then it's the last day of school, and today is all about the students and school site staff. And I have 2 kids, and they both came home in tears of joy because they love their school and their teachers so much. And not only the teachers, but every adult in the building. They come home talking about office staff and the principal and the vice principal and the librarian and the music teacher. And it's just such a reminder of that connection and those relationships and how that is all that matters to my kids and to every other kid. And we're really lucky to be in a school where our kids do feel seen by all the adults and really seen as individuals. And I hope that every student is heading home feeling that way today. And if they're not, that we do even better next year. But just a huge thank you to all the teachers and staff and principals and everyone at our school sites that pour their hearts into our kids all year. It means a lot as a parent.
Thank you, Director McPherson Douglas, and Director Fisher. Do you have any closing comments?
I just want to echo what I've just heard, and that I look at the end of the school year as bittersweet, and such gratitude for what I've seen just over my first year on the board, going into different schools, and also what I experienced as a mom with my kids, just the really high quality and wonderful relationships that have happened over the years, and also the well-needed break that everybody deserves. So thank you so much.
No worries, and I guess I'm last. Here's the thing I would like to say. All the members of the people who work here at the central office, to Dr. Cook, his cabinet, all the staff, kudos to all the hard work you guys are putting in to try to make this not only a diverse and inclusive district, but also all the work you're trying to do to try to save every need for every family, every student, and every person that walks in our buildings. And we appreciate all the work you guys are doing. We're here to support you. I think this is probably one of the most educational centric boards we've had ever in Ben-Lapine. I think we all know and understand the power of education and how it impacts lives. And that's what we're here to do. But finally, I want everybody to recognize tomorrow is Juneteenth. Don't take it lightly. That is about liberation, that is about jubilation, and that is about people who were enslaved or now no longer enslaved. And continue to understand the freedoms we do have and appreciate the things that we get to do on a daily basis, and continue to emphasize that not here in Ben-Lapine schools, but also throughout our country. Take the time to celebrate with people, not just the African American or people who are enslaved, but also the different people who live within this country. And then finally, like I said, I want to thank all the directors. Janet, thank you for all the hard work for this year. Dr. Cook, and the support of me being as the board chair. Thank you so, so much, and I hope you all have a restful summer, and I can't wait to see you in the fall. Thank you very much. I can just say bye. I'm just kidding. Our next board meeting will be July 9th, 2024, and this meeting is adjourned.